Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to a Sunday live stream with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. You know the drill. We're retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you get all things DutyRon and this guy. I don't know where he is. Maybe he'll tell us, maybe he won't. Ed Wallace, when we go live or upload another video. Today we're going to talk about the Karen Reed fallout between the Massachusetts State Police and the BPD. There's been a lot of talk and a lot of folks having these conversations all over YouTube. We went live Thursday night with it, and wow, it spread like wildfire. Ed, your thoughts on the police commissioner, Kelly Dever, and now we're finding out Trooper DeCecco transferred out of the North Fork County District Attorney's Office. Hey, we said it. We hope and we feel like every one of those detectives should be Gandhi and out of there, clean house.
Well, that's 100% with regards to the Mass State Police. With regards to Diva, I said when she was testifying, right after she testified, she didn't realize it. She didn't understand it, but her career was over. Okay. And she took a family leave of absence shortly after the verdict came down. And then the commissioner and his comments, he seemed ill prepared to handle those comments. And what he said made no sense to me whatsoever. And you would think that his legal counsel and his public information officer would have prepped him after her testimony as to what to say in regards to the meeting they had, and he couldn't handle the questions. And honestly, I found it quite shocking for Officer John O'Keefe and his family that he said that this case is over. It is not over. We still have to find the perpetrators of his death. Yeah. And we have to try them for their crime. I just don't get those comments and the smiling and the laughing and much ado about nothing.
Yeah, he made it like it was some kind of joke. And when we went live Thursday night, I was horrified watching it over and over again, listening to the police commissioner. I don't care if you weren't the commissioner when this event took place, when this murder took place, you were in Michigan or wherever the hell you were. It doesn't matter. You are now a Boston police commissioner of the Boston PD. And not on your watch, but while you are in command, an investigation should be ongoing to find out and get to the bottom of what happened to one of your own police officer John O'Keefe, on another police officer's front lawn. And that is, to me, it's a slap in the face to the O'Keefe family. It's a slap in the face to everybody who lives in that neighborhood and in Canton and the surrounding communities, Dighton and so forth. But, you know, homeowner Brian Albert didn't even come out of his house. He didn't even have the respect to go to John O'Keefe's funeral. That should say a lot right there. But to have this police commissioner, Michael Cox, the way he acted, Ed, it was repulsive. I could not believe that I was watching another fellow law enforcement professional just dismiss the death of one of his own.
You know, when we give Miranda warnings, you know, we say, you know, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Okay, now he made these statements, and we saw that, you know, how when Karen Reed made her statements to the press, those statements were brought in to the trial by Prosecutor Brennan to use it against her. Now, these statements have to be vetted now. These statements have to be investigated because he said he didn't know that she was involved. Now, he didn't even call her an officer, okay? He didn't even call her by her name, that he didn't know that his officer was involved in the Karen Reed trial. Then why were you calling her into your office? Why were you sitting her down? Why did she testify the way she testified, saying that you were there to give her, she went there because the commissioner wanted to give her support for her upcoming testimony and said that the job will back you no matter how you testify. Just do the right thing.
Right. It just it's mind-boggling, and for me, and both of us, when you look at the grand scheme of things, this is again, it's not a small police department. It's 3,000 members, and he talked about. He didn't even say members of the service. He said, "Oh, when our people, we if you want to be here, we encourage you." What is that? I mean, let's listen to this, because it's just mind-boggling to hear this guy. But unfortunately, we're going to have to hear it again. So let's take a listen.
Uncovering the truth. Boston 25 News investigates.
Now to a 25 investigates exclusive in the Karen Reed case. It involves Kelly Dever. She's the Boston police officer who sparred with the defense in Reed's retrial. Investigative reporter Ted Daniel has obtained a scathing letter one of Reed's lawyers sent about Dever.
The letter was written by attorney Alan Jackson. It's addressed to Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox. Jackson demands that Kelly Dever be added to Boston's Brady list. The Brady list tracks law enforcement officers who have credibility issues or a history of misconduct.
Did you observe something in the Sallyport garage on January 29th, 2022 that you found unusual?
I know I did not. No.
So the answer is no.
Correct.
That testimony in June has prompted Alan Jackson to demand that Officer Kelly Dever be permanently labeled as untruthful. In a letter to Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox obtained by 25 Investigates, Jackson writes, either Officer Dever lied about having a false memory, or she actually suffers from a condition that subjects her to false memories. Dever was previously a Canton police officer and working the day John O'Keefe was killed. She testified that she was mistaken when she told FBI agents that she saw ATF Agent Brian Higgins and then Canton Police Chief Ken Berkowitz near Karen Reed's Lexus for a, quote, wildly long time.
It was a distorted memory. Therefore, I can't state it because at this point it would be a lie.
She articulated her observations in considerable detail, including specifics about the monitor she was viewing at the dispatch desk, Jackson writes, adding, her credibility and reliability as a law enforcement officer are irreparably compromised.
No, it was just me and the commissioner.
Jackson's letter does not address a conversation.
So there it is. That's why I wanted to play that. We were going to get into Alan Jackson, Karen Reed's defense team lawyer, requesting that she be put on the Brady list. That was not, again, we were going to segue into that. But here we hear her say, exactly what we wanted to hear her say, is that she went into the police commissioner's office. She was in there. He invited her, not him personally, but somebody from his office called her down there. She went in and had a meeting with him, and he pretty much outright denied it in that interview, that reporters just shoved cell phones and microphones in his face. Like you said, he wasn't prepared for it, but he shouldn't have needed to be prepared for it if it in fact was something that he really remembered or recalled. He was outright denying. I don't even know who she is.
No, he said he didn't know that she was involved in the Karen Reed case. What do I have to do with the Karen Reed case? Right.
Insane.
Yeah. Well, I hope the feds watched it. I hope the Department of Justice watched it. And we have to find out exactly when the feds released the reports of that interview with Officer Dever to the the prosecutor's office and to the defense team, because somehow or some way that information got to the Boston Police Commissioner and other supervisors in the Boston Police Department. And we need to track down all records, cell phone, telephone, texts, emails, anything that was faxed or transmitted from Morrissey's office to the Boston Police Department's upper echelon.
Right. People in the chat are saying she met with the chief, that it should be documented. And like you said, Ed, there was probably a communication between his office and her command. Now that could have been by phone. It could have been by teletype. Like I know with us, different parts of the NYPD, you would just get a phone call from the chief of detectives. So-and-so wants to see you. Or
Right. But there would be a record of that in the log at the desk.
Telephone message log.
That's right.
Prepared. So that's some of the things that we'd want to look for. There would be probably no written documentation. It would probably be a verbal and then a written documentation from the desk officer at her command.
Right. And then she's not going on her own time. She's going on company time.
She's going on time. Yeah.
So she probably went in uniform, and she was probably dispatched from her command to headquarters to go to the commissioner's office to have this meeting.
Correct. Let's listen to the rest of this.
Dever testified she had. Jackson's letter does not address a conversation Dever testified she had with Boston Police Commissioner Cox about her involvement in the Karen Reed case. Dever said Cox told her to simply tell the truth. When asked about that conversation Thursday, Commissioner Cox responded,
I have no idea what they're talking about with Karen Reed. It had nothing to do with Karen Reed.
Boston police did not immediately respond to our request for comment.
Of course they didn't, and they won't. At Thursday night, we made a mention of this. We did a live stream. We talked about it. It is important that people know is when this is coming from a retired law enforcement perspective, we know how police departments work. And there is no way in hell that Police Commissioner Michael Cox did not have a clue about Kelly Dever. And I love that you're calling her Dever, because that was how she kept trying to correct Jackson on that. He called her Dever a couple of times. But Kelly Dever, there's no way that he did not have any knowledge of her testimony, because her testimony directly involved him. So for him to say that, it's just so outrageous. And either I said it before and I'll say it again, either he is dumb as a stump or his people are dumb and incompetent, and they did not brief this guy on like, hey, look, this woman testified, as he refers to these people, this police officer testified, and she said that you told her to do the right thing. And then a month and a half later, a reporter puts a phone and a microphone, and a bunch of mics were there. There was many outlets there, and he says what he says. Ed.
No, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. First of all, he should have never had this meeting with her. He should have never gotten involved in her before she testified in this case. Okay. But he did. And according to her testimony, she was alone with him in that office, which is another thing he should have never done either. Okay. And then she had the head of the legal department of the Boston Police Department representing her and advising her when she spoke with the FBI about the false memory allegation. Remember, so she was interviewed. She was interviewed by the FBI when she was in. I don't know if it was when she was in Boston PD or Canton PD.
It was August 9th, 2023, when she was.
What's that?
It was August 9th, 2023, when she was interviewed by the FBI. I had mixed it up on Thursday night's live stream, and I had thought that was the meeting with the police commissioner, but that was when the FBI. But look, let's be clear here. The police commissioner is an appointed position by the mayor, and that Mayor Wu, or whatever her name is,
Mayor Wu,
behind her. She was standing right behind him. She appointed this buffoon, and he is a part of. He's the major part. He's the police commissioner. He runs the Boston Police Department, and for him to not say, we are going to leave no stone unturned as it pertains to Police Officer John O'Keefe's murder, and him to just dismiss it. And now I'm going to force us all to listen to this again, because it's important that we hear this idiot talk. I mean, this is just moronic.
Your name came up during the recent Karen Reed trial. You got a visit from Officer Kelly Dever. The defense implied that you influenced your testimony. Do you want to respond to that?
I have nothing to do with Karen Reed. Matter of fact, I didn't even know this person was associated with the Karen Reed case. You know, I have an organization, Philip, over 3,000 people, and we support all our folks. And the reality is that, I get information passed on, whether people are high or low, and I encourage everyone, right? And if you're going to work here and you belong here, then we're going to encourage you. I have no idea what they're talking about with Karen Reed. It had nothing to do with Karen Reed. No discussion about
Did you
Karen.
tell Officer Dever to do the right thing?
I didn't know she was even associated with that case. So, I don't know. I was struck. Like, what do I have to do with the Karen Reed case? I never have said those words together. And so the fact is, it's much to do about nothing. We have employees here that we have to develop and encourage and do things, and I do that for tons of our employees.
Do you feel that you were inappropriately drawn into this as some sort of boogeyman?
That case is over, and we've got a lot of other stuff to talk about.
Unbelievable, Ed. Unbelievable.
You know what? Now they got to get records of how many officers of different ranks has he called to his office to have meetings like this. Now he's only been there since August of 22. Okay, so it shouldn't be that hard to find out. I mean, there's usually a calendar of events and scheduled meetings that his chief of staff and his personnel keeps records of who came to him. And so how did he not know? How could he have not known that Dever was associated with the Karen Reed case and was being called down to testify? How could he have not known that she was interviewed by the FBI in association with the Karen Reed case? Okay, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's not logical.
Yeah, and for him to say this has a lot to do about nothing, this case is over, is deplorable to hear that from him, because the person who was charged with this crime was not convicted. She was found not guilty. She is a free woman, and he is looking at this like this is over, done with. I wash my hands clean with it. Thank you, Amor of Alessi. Thank you for the 10. She says, how can Cox be so out of touch? Yeah, that's what we're questioning here. How much are people like him accustomed to getting away with this nonsense? And what does the mayor have to say, if anything? I guarantee you won't hear one peep out of Mayor Wu about it. And Ed, you touched on this on Thursday night about how these higher ups and executives in a lot of these police departments are out of touch with reality. They think that they're untouchable as it pertains to any of their actions or inactions.
Yeah, it's just crazy. None of this makes any sense. None of it. I mean, you would think that a person of this rank would have been prepared to handle questions like this. Okay. And I don't know what Deborah was thinking. I think she was given bad advice. I think, she didn't realize what was going on with her career. And it's over now.
Yeah, her career is over. I don't think we'll ever see her back to full duty. And if she is back to full duty, she will be working in health services or somewhere where
right in the desk.
Yeah, not a patrol function, because number one, she can never be relied upon to give any type of testimony in any type of case. So anything that she would potentially touch would go to shit. And
well, you saw in Jackson's letter that any cases that she's already given testimony in has to be reopened.
Yeah, and she made a pretty wide statement when was asked how many times she testified. First, she said several dozen, then she said a dozen, and so, like, again, her testimony was so shaky and so bad. I highly doubt she's testified in any high-profile cases. She was a patrol cop in Canton, and then Deborah went to the Boston Police Department. She took a test and was hired for a higher-paying police job. That commonly, I want to touch on this, Ed, and I know that you know about this, and we can bounce this back and forth. But many police officers from lower-paid departments take other tests while they're active in the higher paid adjoining counties or departments. And I I would have to say that I would bet my pension on that Kelly Dever, just like many other members of the service in smaller police departments that have lower pay, look in the surrounding areas and say, oh, they pay $20,000 more. This one pays more. They'll take the test, and that's what she did, and she got hired. Let's clear the air on that, because a lot of people are talking about that. And
yes. The Commonwealth is a post certification law enforcement state. So once you pass an academy and you graduate, you get a state certification to be a law enforcement officer. Okay. Now, once you have that, you can then shop around, as Ron said, to other law enforcement agencies, apply to those better paying law enforcement agencies, take their test, pass their background investigation, and then roll over to that law enforcement agency. You may or may not have to go for some remedial training to bring you up to speed to that particular jurisdiction's codes of enforcement and so forth. But by and large, all the penal law aspects are the same. All the vehicle and traffic laws are the same, but like the city of Boston may have slightly different laws and violations.
Yeah, and department policies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Scott says Deborah was given a job on Boston PD to shut her up. I don't think she was given a job, and I respect this comment. Thank you for being a channel member. But as we're talking about here, she was not given that job. You have to take a civil service test. You have to pass the test, and then you got to be hired by said agency. So it's not just that where they're appointing police officers randomly from department to department. You have to take a civil service exam. But I appreciate that comment and everything, that the conversation. We like to get it clear, and that's how it's done, and that's how it happens. It's not just like, oh, let's get her out of Canton to shut her up and bring her to BPD, and then we could put duct tape over her mouth, because that didn't happen. She went and put her own foot in her mouth, and her testimony arguably was the worst out of anybody because of her body language and how she came across, her attitude,
even to the judge. Everything
about her was the worst, in my opinion. And we saw some pretty shitty testimony as it pertains from experts, and other police officers and police agencies. So at the end of the day, Dever, whatever the fuck you want to call her, she took the cake as it pertains to this, to the trial. She was the worst.
Now, the commissioner of Boston PD is on notice, official notice from Alan Jackson about this testimony. So it can't be swept under the rug. Something has to occur, because if she continues and then testifies in another case, it's going to open up a can of worms if nothing was done to satisfy this allegation that was brought to his attention.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, I take issue with false memory versus delusional. Was this a delusion or a false memory? Now, I mean, because did she make this up out of whole cloth? I doubt it. I think she actually saw something, and she spoke to the FBI about what she saw.
Yeah.
Okay. And then all kinds of pressure were then put on her to change what she saw.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. It was funny because the people in the chat are talking about this, and thank you, Scott, and everybody that's in the chat talking it up. Because while I put Ed full screen, I look at the chat. That's the time that I get a chance to look at the chat. So I see people are talking about Dever and her memory and her failing memory of not remembering the Canton PD on the date in question, John O'Keefe, the night he was murdered, the morning of. She was immediately dispatched. Remember, she said, I never left the department's parking lot. I was immediately dispatched by radio or by phone from a lieutenant to go and take over the 911 switchboard. And then she conveniently couldn't remember how all the cameras were set up and the screens and everything that's in front of you. I call bullshit, and you put the bullshit flag out big time, as we talked about that in real time when she testified on day 25. But Ed, that's crazy, because I remember back in 1991 when I was a rookie cop and I got to the desk, I knew where all this, I could tell you right now, of course it's changed probably, but I could tell you from my memory from 1991 how all the security cameras, because my life depended on it. My life depended on if someone broke into my Sally Port and got in and it was a bad guy and was trying to come into the police department for whatever reason to kill a cop or to hurt somebody or to break a prisoner out, because we would have prisoners inside our police department. That's what you hold prisoners there until you bring them to central booking. So I can remember from 1991 exactly how the security setup was. She's going to tell us on the stand that she can't freaking remember what cameras were looking at what? Bullshit.
I mean, they there's no doubt they recorded the telephone conversation with her and the defense team. That had to have been recorded. There's no way Alan Jackson and his team did not record that telephone conversation between her, Dever, and themselves. So there's got to be a transcript of that entire telephone conversation. Okay. And contemporaneous notes were written down as well. I'm sure the lawyers were all sitting there around the speakerphone and writing down notes about what was being said. Okay. Yeah. And when they got the official report from the FBI, they know exactly what she told the FBI.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no question about it. Let's play this again because there's a lot of people that joined in. We played this in the beginning. I want to play it one more time through. This is Alan Jackson asking Officer Dever to be placed on the Brady list if she even continues to be an officer. I predict that she may actually just resign, and that might be in her best interest because I don't think she can ever perform her duties without extreme, severe scrutiny by defense attorneys in any and all cases that she's been in, that she would potentially be involved in. She's got a long career ahead of her if she stays on the job because she's a rookie.
News investigates.
Now to a 25 Investigates exclusive in the Karen Reed case. It involves Kelly Dever. She's the Boston police officer who sparred with the defense in Reed's retrial. Investigative reporter Ted Daniel has obtained a scathing letter one of Reed's lawyers sent about Dever.
The letter was written by attorney Alan Jackson. It's addressed to Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox. Jackson demands that Kelly Dever be added to Boston's Brady list. The Brady list tracks law enforcement officers who have credibility issues or a history of misconduct.
Did you observe something in the Sallyport garage on January 29th, 2022 that you found unusual?
I know I did not. No.
So the answer is no.
Correct.
That testimony in June has prompted Alan Jackson to demand that Officer Kelly Dever be permanently labeled as untruthful. In a letter to Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox obtained by 25 Investigates, Jackson writes, either Officer Dever lied about having a false memory or she actually suffers from a condition that subjects her to.
How many people in the chat believe that Officer Dever lied about having false memory? Or does she actually have a condition that subjects her to false memory? Put a 1 if you think she just outright lied. I'm putting a 1 right now, and I'm not trying to coax anybody. And put a 2 if you think she suffers from a condition that subjects her to false memory. Let's just see, Ed, how many people are on board. I'm putting our votes in right now. 1. Your thoughts, Ed? I see you smiling in the background. People can't see that. Hold on. I got to put you full screen for everybody to see that. Bullshit flag. I got to add that into the thing. I got to add in the bullshit flag. All right.
Go put a flag on the field.
Ed's throwing flags left and right. He's throwing flags. So, Eva, I've only seen one number 2 that's coming from Mary. Hold on. Stand by. Don't shoot the messenger because everyone's entitled to their opinion. Thank you, Mary. Mary M says that she suffers from a condition. I'm trying to look for another number 2, just to be fair. No other number 2s. Somebody please put a 2 in the chat so Mary's not alone. For crying out loud. All right, I'll do it. All right, somebody else did. Arcus Chicken Gun. Put in a number 2. Thank you for being compassionate. We appreciate that. All right. So, let me let the rest of this play. I had to stop it there because I wanted to do that pool to see how many people thought that Dever, whatever her name is.
The false memories. A false memory, or she actually writes, either Officer Dever lied about having a false memory, or she actually suffers from a condition that subjects her to false memories. Dever was previously a Canton police officer and working the day John O'Keefe was killed. She testified that she was mistaken when she told FBI agents that she saw ATF Agent Brian Higgins and then Canton Police Chief Ken Berkowitz near Karen Reed's Lexus for a, quote, wildly long time.
It was a distorted memory. Therefore, I can't state it because at this point it would be a lie.
She articulated her observations in considerable detail, including specifics about the monitor she was viewing at the dispatch desk, Jackson writes, adding, her credibility and reliability as a law enforcement officer are irreparably compromised.
No, it was just me and the commissioner.
Jackson's letter does not address a conversation Dever testified she had with Boston Police Commissioner Cox about her involvement in the Karen Reed case. Dever said Cox told her to simply tell the truth. When asked about that conversation Thursday, Commissioner Cox responded,
I have no idea what they're talking about with Karen Reed. It had nothing to do with Karen Reed.
Boston police did not immediately respond to our request for comment. Our attempts to reach Officer Dever were also unsuccessful.
Of course they are unsuccessful. Why would anybody think that Officer Dever would call back any bona fide news agency? She's embarrassed. And she should be, rightfully so. Ed, I'm afraid to put you back on screen because I saw you writing something down. Is that a note for us, or are you doing some type of army training, Ed? All right, we are getting an official bullshit flag emoji made for Ed Wallace. Bullshit flag is happening. Kristen, that's going to be her assignment.
I got a flag on the field.
Absolutely. All right, so also there's continued fallout from Karen Reed trial. Trooper DeCecco has been transferred out of Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, and rightfully so. I think every single piece of personnel, lieutenants, sergeants, captains, whatever rank is assigned currently to the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, that elite unit, their asses should be bounced out of there, and new people should be put in there with extreme oversight, with extra supervision, because we found out that not only the investigators were rogue, including Trooper Proctor, but their supervisors, Sergeant Buchanan, additional rogue supervisor. He should not be supervising anybody because he can't supervise for shit. He's horrible. Let's go to the super chats. There's a couple of them here. I want to get to them. We highlighted this one. Fritz, thank you for the Canadian $6.99. Will we still talking about Epstein? Reminds me of Cox. Remarkable. This case is done. Didn't John O'Keefe work for BPD and he has nothing to do with this? Crazy.
This may have occurred before the commissioner came back from what was he, in Michigan, right?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it may have occurred, but once he got there, it was still an active case, and he still had another active employee that was found dead on his lawn. Okay, yeah. All right. How was he not briefed on this?
It's like, look, Rodney Harrison came from New York City to Suffolk County to be the police commissioner. He took on the Gilgo Beach murder case, right? Rex Heuermann. He came on, Rex Heuermann wasn't in custody. So he was supposed to just wash his hands clean with that case. When you come on as a police commissioner, you got to look at what's happening within your department, and you got to be up to speed. And really, it is what it is. Meatball Morris, he said Scott is correct. Massachusetts is civil service. Well, he was saying that they transferred her there just to shut her up. Towns can be lateral transfers, but not to Boston. you have to go through the BPD Academy again. Yeah, you got to take a test. You got to pass that test, and you got to get hired. Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for that.
Hey guys, many of New York NYPD officers do the same thing because we, believe it or not, we are the lowest paid police agency, even though we're the largest in around us. Okay, so they take the test for Suffolk County, Nassau County, Port Authority, and Port Authority of New York and New Jersey police.
Yeah,
okay, and then many of the upstate police, and then once they pass the background and pass all the physical and get hired by them, they just go for a couple of weeks worth of refresher training, update training, and they don't have to go through a full academy. And because they already went through a full academy recognized by New York State Criminal Justice Bureau, and then they get hired by that other agency to make more money.
I'll give an example that I know of a fact. Nassau County and Suffolk County Police Department, which is the highest paid police departments in the nation, in the United States. Suffolk County is the highest paid police department. Look it up. Suffolk County, that's Nassau County and Suffolk. So the second largest, highest paid department is Nassau. But when you go from city, NYPD, to Suffolk or Nassau, you have to go through their full police academy. But that's their rules. If you, like Ed was saying, if you go up to Westchester or you go to some other police department, they may just accept you as, you know, going through the NYPD's police academy and take you up there and give you a refresher, a couple of weeks, 6, you know, some of them 3 weeks, some 6, whatever the case may be. But I know for a fact, because many of my friends and many of the people I used to work with went to Suffolk and Nassau for the higher pay, but also they had to go through the police academy again. Kyle, thank you for the 5. I've seen many suspended, demoted, or fired from my department for not even half the stuff that's done in Karen Reed's case and Sandra Birchmore. Yeah, this is just mind-boggling. We just never seen anything like it. Ed, I got what do you got? Something on the.
So Scorpion writes, DutyRon, do NYPD detectives work physically in the New York prosecutor's office? And the answer to that is there are 2 types of investigators in each of the prosecutor's office. They'll have an official NYPD squad of NYPD detectives embedded in the district attorney's office. But the DA has their own state certified police officer investigators in their office as well. So right. each of the 5 borough prosecutors' offices in New York City has a NYPD contingent supervised by the NYPD, just assigned to the district attorney's office. In addition, the district attorney has their own that report to the district attorney, have nothing to do with the NYPD. But I will say that many of those people that are in that district attorney's squad are retired NYPD detectives.
Right, and we know that for a fact.
Yes,
we
because my wife was one.
Thank you. I wasn't going to say it, Ed, but and we know many other people besides Ed's wife. Mom Mab says Deborah's new position in Boston was a $60,000 pay raise. Like we just said, many of these police officers look at surrounding counties, surrounding areas, and see which one's paying higher. So yeah, it could have been, you know, it could have been that she did get that big pay bump. So it is what it is. Meatball Morrissey is. I wasn't mad at all. I wasn't mad. Nobody's upset here. It's just that we like to clear the air on misinformation. And Kelly Dever didn't just get plucked from Canton and put into BPD just because they wanted to shut her up. And that's the point that we were trying to bring to light, that is not, in fact, true. She had to take that exam. She had to go through those channels to get hired. She did. And she happens to be, you know, a Canton, you know, she went born and raised there. Many police officers in my community are born and raised and serve on these smaller police departments such as Canton. But when you get to the larger ones, it makes it a little bit like, I know I couldn't work if I lived in the 5 boroughs in the New York City Police Department. I could not work in the command where I reside or any of my family resided in. And if they found out about it, say you slipped through the cracks, you would get transferred. Right, Ed?
Yes.
and we couldn't obviously work on a case that we had any ties to. If it was a cousin, you know.
Well, I had to recuse myself when my sergeant was dispatching me to a homicide in Staten Island, and it turns out when he gave me the name of the victim, it was my first cousin.
Yeah.
And so I had to. He didn't believe me at first when I said, "Sarge, I can't take the case."
Yeah.
He goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "That's my first cousin, and in fact, he's my godfather."
There you go.
He got all screwed up in Vietnam, and when he came back from Vietnam, he couldn't get his act together, and his lifestyle led to this, and he was beaten to death. But anyhow, so
terrible. Yeah, Patty says, did her rank change, or was it there just a scale change? Yeah, it's just a pay scale change from department to department, and I don't know the figures of exactly how much she earned or how much of a pay bump it was, because I never looked into it. But we know that this is common practice with many police departments and many police officers across the United States. And you know, Boston is not too far from New York. It's the same situation where, you know, people are looking to just, you know, it's just like in any other career where you look to try to get a bump and what company's paying more. It's really it's that simple. I don't know if it was a $60,000 bump. If it really was a $60,000 bump, that's substantial. You know, and I would, if I was a Canton police officer, I would freaking leave and take the test and go to Boston. That's a no-brainer. It's economics right there, right? But I know that NYPD, when I started, it was $24,900 to start. That's what I started out in 1991 with. And there was many guys and girls who left to go to Nassau and Suffolk because it legitimately was over a $60,000 bump to leave the NYPD. And, you know, it was because of economics. You know?
Well, there was that one contract, I think you were involved in this, that had dropped the pay of officers while they were in the academy to the point that they could get food stamps and welfare.
Yeah, I was on during that time because when I was hired in 1991, that was my starting pay. And it was like every 2 weeks, it was $600 and something that I would take home every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I remember when my firstborn my son was born, I used to find myself counting change to get diapers and formula. So that's how low paid we were. And
I remember the unions telling the officers to go apply for food stamps and welfare to embarrass the city into changing the contract.
Yep. And my wife had couldn't go. Obviously, it was our firstborn, but she had a C-section, so she couldn't go back to work full time. So she was only working from home and part time. So I was working the police job and I was working security jobs on the side to try to make ends meet. It was rough because you would go to work really tired and put that uniform on, and you'd have to make life or death decisions in a moment's notice, seconds. So it was tough. It was really tough. Haley, thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. Super sticker. We appreciate you. Hey, listen. So this is the conversation. This is the continued fallout as it pertains to, you got it upside down, Ed. You got to put it right side up. The bullshit flags. Ed has them all over his, Ed, can we talk about where you are right now? What's happening with you?
Well, I'm in a hotel room, as you can plainly see. I'm on assignment outside Fort Meade.
Yeah. All right. So he's doing some training, Army training, or something of that nature. But what are your thoughts on what are we going to see here next? Is the FBI going to step in here? We can't rely on the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office to go after the Alberts, right? We know that they're not going to do that. We know that they're not going to go after
Higgins.
We know that they're not going to be squeezing anybody here, because the conversation and the whole thing from the Boston police commissioner, that says it all. He said, this case is over. This is over. In other words, he was just throwing in the, surrender flag. So there, he's not putting any resources in to investigate it. The district attorney's office is not going to put their people on it because they've already been embarrassed twice.
Well, here's the deal. Miss Dever gave an interview to the FBI, and Then she called them up. And then she testified that when she spoke to the FBI about her false memory with the counsel from the Boston PD, that she was assured by the FBI that it was done in good faith and that she would not be charged with perjury, because there's the 1001 federal crime of lying to the FBI. Okay. Right. Well, I wouldn't be too sure if I were her that's still in effect now after what the commissioner just said. Okay. And what somebody tells you over the phone, it doesn't mean squat. Okay. If it's not in writing and it's not signed off on by the U.S. Attorney's Office, I wouldn't hold any of that as being gospel. They could turn around and pick her up and say, you know what, we're going to charge you. We're going to charge you with perjury. Okay. And then, she may turn around and she's low hanging fruit, but she may have information that can lead the FBI to the next person. Right.
Hey, Ed, I just found something interesting. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. And that's a possibility, because she's so low on that totem pole and she's got to be kind of desperate. But I don't know. If anybody's going to be easily cracked, it's going to be Diva. That's for sure. So it is what it is.
If I was thrown under the bus like this, first of all, I would never put myself in this situation. Okay. I would never have been in this situation, but she's naive and she was a rookie and so forth. Yeah. So Scott says here, Boston police officer John O'Keefe was unalived at a Boston police officer Brian Albert's house. This is not over. I agree 100%. It is not over. But getting back to what I was saying, I don't know, maybe folks in the chat, I had heard rumored that her father was a cop, that she had some kind of family that was cops. If so, she was not given good advice as to what to do here. Okay. And the way the commissioner just threw her under the bus,
she wasn't even in existence. He didn't even know she existed.
I would not be feeling comfortable that they have her back.
Yeah.
And maybe you can make a deal.
Right. Yeah. Please pass the pepper, says in the 5. Thank you for that. And she says, I have zero faith in the FBI at this point. Look, we got to hope and pray that they're going to continue to look at this, because there is a perpetrator or perpetrators involved in this, and they're not caught and they're not in custody. I just pulled up something interesting, and I don't even know what it's going to say here, but this is from the Dever Day 25. It's only 2 minutes, but I want to play it just to see what it says, because it showed the police commissioner. It showed Cox in the background, and I don't. This is old, so I don't remember it. So I want to play it. And let's just listen to this together.
Her name is Kelly Dever, and she says she was working dispatch in Canton the day that John O'Keefe's body was found. Now, she originally told investigators that she saw Canton Police Chief Ken Berkowitz and ATF Agent Brian Higgins in the police department garage standing near Reed's SUV. But Dever says she later realized that couldn't be possible, because she said she'd already left for the day when Reed's SUV was brought in. She called it a distorted memory and says she tried to correct the record, but she says Karen Reed's attorneys pressured her to stick with her original story.
You threatened to charge me with perjury during our phone call prior to the first trial if I didn't lie on the stand right now. I'm telling you, I did not see anything. Factually, I've been provided evidence by a timeline that it is not correct.
Now, after Dever was hired by Boston Police and investigators started asking those questions, she says Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox did call her into his office. She says Cox told her that the department would support her and that she simply needed to tell the truth. But Karen Reed says this is part of a supposed blue wall of silence where police protect one another.
And she was called into the commissioner's office. The story completely changed and it was recanted. So I don't think it was suggestion. I think I heard what you heard.
Now, we did reach out to the Boston Police Department to see if Commissioner Cox has any comment about this, and so far they have not responded. Also on the stand.
So this is day 25, and the Boston Police Commissioner's office was receiving calls from media about the Dever meeting. And now a month and a half later, he doesn't even, I have nothing to do with this Karen Reed case.
It's ridiculous. It doesn't pass the smell test. Okay. And, she was a Canton cop. She's a Boston cop. As a cop, you telling me you didn't know that a defense attorney cannot charge you with perjury?
Right.
Well, I'm not buying that testimony either.
Yeah.
You're telling me you're not smart enough to know that a defense attorney cannot arrest anybody and cannot charge anybody for perjury.
Yeah, she tried to twist it by saying, well, you could make a report that would result in me getting charged with something.
If you testify falsely and during the defense attorneys, then the defense can ask the judge,
right, to
hold her in contempt. She I have proof she perjured herself.
Exactly. Hey, Ed, I want to switch gears just for a second and ask you something important, because people mention this a lot on DutyRon.com. All right, let me just rephrase that. If somebody was to reach out to Jared Bradley from MVAC, and let's just say the O'Keefe family, the Reed family, or anybody wanted to hire somebody, a forensic expert, to MVAC. That's the vacuum, that microbial vacuum that can be used on garments like John O'Keefe's clothing inside 34 Fairview. Can investigators outside of the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office do their own investigation and then bring it to the FBI or
first of all, who has the clothing right now? Is it still in possession of Morrissey and the district attorney's office there? And how are they safeguarding it? But that said, if they release the clothing back to the O'Keefe family, then the O'Keefe family can hire a private investigator who can touch base with Jared, and then Jared can bring the MVAC out and MVAC the clothing.
Because I wanted to reach out to him.
I spoke to Jared
about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the same thing with the FBI. If the FBI sends a couple agents over there with a court order to seize all the evidence in the case, and then take possession of the evidence, they could have the shirt MVAC, the hoodie MVAC.
And what about inside 34 Fairview? We know that the homeowner is open door policy with Alan Jackson. We see Alan Jackson in the basement. We saw Alan Jackson in the garage. We saw him do the test outside when he was yelling on the front of the lawn. If the FBI went there and asked permission from the homeowner to search the garage and the basement areas, and they would have to make some agreement with the homeowners. I understand the homeowners were working with the defense team and allowed AJ to get in there, and now these videos are all coming out. But they would have to make some agreement with the FBI that if the FBI tears up the plywood that was put down over the old concrete floor, which was torn up, right.
Okay, if they pull that up and make damage, that they will make the homeowner whole. Right. After they're done doing their work. And they typically do that. The FBI, when they destroy something in the case, they'll make the owner whole and repair it, have it fixed. And then allow someone like, their FBI lab with an MVAC or hire Jared with his MVAC to come out and search those areas for blood.
I'm going to actually send a message to Alessi and Yannetti to try to get it to Jackson.
Well, we did talk to them.
We did, but I want to revisit that, because here Arcus Chicken Gunn says Karen Reed's team took the carpet from 34 Fairview. They have that carpet.
Where was that carpet though? What was the location of the carpet? Its original location in Fairview.
It's something for us to have a conversation with them about, because we'll get many different answers in the chat.
Now remember, he was supposedly a friend of these people that they loved, but he had never been in that house before. Okay, he had never been partying with these people in that house. He had never attended anything at this house, and he needed directions to get there. Okay, so if they find his DNA on that carpet that came from that house, now we don't know how that carpet is being safeguarded. We don't know how it was handled. So there could be some chain of custody issues with the carpet as well. Okay, so the best thing would be to go in there with the team of forensic experts from the FBI laboratory, and maybe a guy like Jared or somebody that has the skill sets and the equipment to do this, and search, document search, and test.
Right. Yeah. So many different answers about where the carpet came from. We're not going to let this go. So we're going to continue to reach out and offer assistance. And I know, Ed, you have many people who you can dispatch there that you would obviously trust, probably that you maybe trained or been partners with. I know that you couldn't go there because of how extensively we've talked about this case. Because if you did collect something that was of evidentiary value, we wouldn't want that to be just discarded because of your bias as it pertains to conversations that we've had. But it's not even about that. But
I don't have bias. I have fact.
I know, but what I'm saying is you don't want another person to get a hold of it and say, that guy can't, because of.
No, I would never do that, because I do have a conflict of interest.
Right. That's what I was talking about. The science doesn't lie, and we know that to be true. I want to thank everybody for coming without any notice on a Sunday. We didn't plan. We were going to just do a straight out members only live stream, but we switched it to public because we felt that we didn't want to. We didn't want to exclude so many of our subscribers that are public subscribers, but we are going to be doing a members only shortly. I think sometime during the week, members only for our members. I'm going to interview Texas Equisearch, a dog handler. She's an actual. She does the cadaver dogs, and I want to have her join us on an interview to talk to our audience about what she's done down in Texas for recovery of victims, and they've recovered several victims with the use of her dog. So I'm going to have her on, and we're going to do that as a members only. Brian Walsh case. So we got a lot. We have a playlist. We've covered it. But yeah, Ed, your thoughts.
Again, when I looked at the hearings and I saw some of the testimony, it's just the same group of players, and the fact how they cut all these corners, take these shortcuts, and violate people's constitutional rights. There's a doctrine in law enforcement. It's called the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. Okay, so in the course of an investigation, if you violate somebody's constitutional right with the search and seizure of evidence, okay, or information that leads to collecting evidence, then that evidence is deemed tainted, and it's considered the fruits of the poisonous tree. So if you did one thing wrong that got you some information that led you to collecting evidence, probative evidence of value,
right,
now that evidence is tainted. Because you didn't do your job correctly in the initial stages, and you violated the defendant's constitutional rights to unlawful search and seizures. Okay. And I mean, just like no chain of custody in Karen Reed, no crime scene investigation, none of the standards were followed, none of the photographs, sketches, measurements, processing the scene correctly. None of that was done. Not even the bagging and collection of the evidence. None of it was done correctly. Okay.
That's the shame of it. That's the shame of it all, is that, nothing was done the proper way. and people just say to themselves, how could this happen in 20, here we are in 2025, but looking back 2 years ago, 3 years ago, this is just despicable that this is going on. I also want to say another thing too. I want to thank all the new subscribers, and Ed, we can't forget about the new people who have just recently subscribed here. If you're new and you just first time catching us on a live stream, or you've watched our replay from Thursday and you just recently subscribed, let us know. Like to say hello and highlight your name in the chat. Let us know where you're watching, city, state, country, and we'll give you a shout out. What do you got up on the screen, Mr. Wallace?
Helen B asked, how did all the evidence go in for the Karen Reed trial? Well, that was because of very bad decisions by the judge. In any case that I've been involved in, first of all, as I said time and time again on this show, Karen Reed's case would have never been prosecuted in the city of New York, in any of the 5 borough district attorney's office, after the medical examiner came back with CUPI, causes undetermined pending investigation. That's what a CUPI stands for. So there's no manner of death. Or it's not a homicide. Okay? It's CUPI. And at that point, no district attorney worth their salt is going to push to prosecute on that information. Okay? Because their medical examiner said, I do not see signs of Mr. John O'Keefe being hit by a motor vehicle. I do not see injuries. I do not see anything that suggests he was hit by a motor vehicle. Okay. But yet the prosecutor and the detectives in this case and the troopers, that was it. That was their theory. And they come hella high water. They pushed that case and look at the results. You got 1 hung jury. You got 1 conviction for OUI. If combine the 2 trials and all the experts and the special prosecutor, this case cost the people of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts over $2 million.
Jesus.
For an OUI conviction, the most expensive OUI conviction, right? Meanwhile, the people that actually killed John O'Keefe have not been apprehended, are not being held responsible for their crimes.
Yeah, it's despicable. And we listened to Police Commissioner Michael Cox just dismiss everything and anything to do with Karen Reed, with the police officer John O'Keefe's murder. He said, "This is over. We have a lot. We have a lot to do. We have other things to do." What? Just insane. I want to thank Emily and others for gifting out memberships, and I want to thank everyone. I highlighted as many names as I could. Those of you who asked, Popeye is back down here into the studio. I had to make his cage a hospital-safe cage. I'll go to it here in a minute. So this is the cage. He's down at the bottom. I'm not sure if you guys could see this. Let me go full screen. Ed's looking out the window. Are you worried someone's coming to get you, Ed?
No. I see questions in the chat about how are my curtains.
Ed, answer the curtain in a second. Popeye is right here at the bottom of the cage. This is plastic, so he can't climb up it. So I had to put plexiglass plastic inside the cage, and he's in a small little box at the bottom. He can come out. There's a perch right here. So he's rehabbing inside the cage. Let me get Ed back on. There you are, Ed. Ed, what's happening? Just regular.
There's my curtains.
Yeah, those are boring. Those aren't like
boring. Not like Moroccan.
Yeah, we had someone from Austria in the chat. That was new. So a lot of people joining in from different parts of the world. I saw Australia, New Zealand, UK, all different places and welcome to all the new subscribers. We're up to almost 520,000 subscribers, and it's because of the great people here in the chat, like our moderators, our channel members, our welcome squad, the people who watch the replay. You guys are awesome. We thank you for that. If you're not yet subscribed, consider subscribing. Hit that thumbs up. It costs nothing, right, Ed, to subscribe and hit the thumbs up bell. We appreciate everything that you guys do for us, and all those little things matter. And especially when you share our videos, it really helps. Can we talk a little bit about this, Ed? We were highlighted in the Boston Herald They did an article on us, highlighting us from Thursday night's live stream. So shout out to the Boston Herald. I had to pay to see the article, so boo-hoo for that. Yeah, they don't let you just look at the article for free. So we were highlighted, Ed and myself, for some of the comments. And let us know in the chat, what do you think of the thumbnail for today's live stream and the previous two with the big long Pinocchio nose? That was an idea that I had, and Kristen ran with it. So let me know what you think. Was it outrageous to do that? Was it too much? Was it over the top? And even today's thumbnail was a reject that I didn't want to use, but I used it today. So let me know what you guys think of it. Ed, did you see the thumbnail from today?
I did.
What'd you think?
I didn't think you were going to use that, but you did.
It was rejected. We had it in the reject folder. And I said, you know what? It's Sunday. Let me use it today so I could just really give it a 1-2 right up the commissioner's butt. Give him a little boom, punch in the rear. So yeah, a lot of people love it. I didn't see anybody say it was too much. But it is what it is. So thank you for all that feedback. Ed's throwing the bullshit flag again. Ed's throwing the bullshit flag. All right, guys and girls, if the nose fits, wear it. All right, so on behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, we want to send strength, prayers, and positive vibes to all of the victims down in Texas. We have over 2,000 first responders and volunteers down there. Megan was down there as well. She has live streams on her videos. She's doing on her channel. I was catching up with her last night. She was down there helping homeowners clear the insides of their homes, and she did a little bit of a video. Didn't show the people's property or anything like that, but showed the immense damage that's down there. So sending prayers and strength. The death toll is up over 120, and there's still 160 missing. So please pray for our friends in Texas. The great state of Texas is going through it. They need our help. They need our support. I keep donating to places on behalf of this community. So I've sent donations out in regards to the cleanup and recovery efforts, and for the first responders and people who need water and food and so forth. I'm sending out lots of things to help out any way that we can. Ed, what do you got up on there? Anything? Oh, that's the nose fit. Let me get rid of that. All right. Thank you so much, Ed. I'd like to give you the final word. Yes, Megan Connor. Yes, that's whose channel I'm referring to. Should go over and check out her channel. She's great. Ed, anything on final words, Ed?
Yes, thanks for being here, folks. Thanks for spending your valuable time with us here on our channel. Thanks for spreading the word about us throughout the true crime networks. And I appreciate you so much. We thank you very much. And with that, I always like to tell you, stay safe, stay prepared, and watch your six.
Amen to that, brother. Yes, Mexico has sent search and recovery and lots of help, lots of other different agencies across the United States. So we salute them, including the NYPD, who has sent down their teams to help with rescue and recovery. Well, now it's recovery.
Task Force One.
Yep, Task Force One. God bless them. So thank you all for being here. We'll see you soon. Peace and love from Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. Take care.